Um, so I think what I'm going to do this time around, actually, I'll show that I exist in a human, um, just briefly. I think what I'm going to do this time around is usually I encourage people to interrupt me, but I've got 20 minutes. So I think what I'll do is more or less fly through my deck and leave hopefully about 5, maybe 8 minutes at the end to talk about stuff and have questions and all that. Those of you attending live, yeah, those of you attending live, if you look in the chat, I've posted the worksheet that I've got a template worksheet sort of thing that you can make a copy of and play along or use later, and also the slide deck itself. But don't worry about it because I'll also have URLs like on almost every page of this slide deck because I thought that would be useful. Definitely put your questions in chat and we'll get to them. The link errors. What? Thank you for telling me that because that's not cool. Because I tested these already.
You did not make the correct demo god sacrifices.
Man, I thought I had, but what are you gonna do? NJ, please try it without the www. And you can tell me if that works. And in the meantime, I'm gonna stop sharing video, start sharing the screen, and we're gonna do this. We're gonna do it now, right now. Here we go. Time management for neurodiverse folk. And I'm gonna attempt to manage my own time. Like I said, hi guys, I'm Jen McCown, and I am qualified to speak on time management for neurodiverse folk because I am a neurodiverse folk. I have ADHD and anxiety and God only knows what else. And time management is absolutely dead serious, something I've struggled with my entire life. And you know, I don't have it perfect, but nobody has it perfect. So let's get into this. By the way, if you want to reach me, easiest way is on Twitter. I am MidnightDBA. There are other ways as well. You can find me on LinkedIn. Why? Why am I talking about time management? Honestly, this came about because a friend of mine chronically overschedules. Like, I can't even begin to explain how badly they over allocate their time and then get into the weeds and get into deep doo-doo, as the children say. They don't say that. And yeah, and that's very troublesome. And on the flip side, there's me. I don't under allocate my time so much as how would you say, I just do stuff. And then at the end of the day, I look back and go, oh, I didn't get half the stuff done that I wanted to. I tend to get down into busyness. And so that's why I made this session. But after I created what I'm calling the life project plan, that's what we're going to be doing in here. I found this quote in Tools of Titans. Being busy is most often used as a guise for avoiding the few critically important but uncomfortable actions. Okay, ouch. Thanks for that, Tim Ferriss. That's spot on. Yeah, I avoid uncomfortable things by getting absorbed in planning or in little minutia, but not to get too deep into that. Let's go on. What we really need to know is how our time looks. That kind of comes, the inspiration for that comes from my friend, right? And what is truly important, and that comes from me. And it's on both sides, and like I say, the URLs are down there at the bottom, and I'm going to check chat and see if they actually work for somebody. You are a meandering string, link not working. That's not cool because I just made those. All right, well, if those links don't work, then we'll figure it out after. We'll figure it in the Q&A. So the number one rule, as far as I'm concerned, only use what works. There's not a person out there in the verse who has a perfect plan for all people. What's more, there's not a single person out there who has a perfect plan for you or for me. I mean, you'd think I made this plan, it's perfect for me. It is for right now, but in another 3 months, I'm going to change because, hey, ADHD, and I'm going to need to adjust this. That's fine. Use the pieces that work for you. Always feel free to pick up and put down pieces as they work for you. And a corollary to that is to find what resonates. Resonate is like my word of the year, at least. For me, I cannot really do a thing, follow a plan effectively if it doesn't resonate with me. What I mean is if I don't fully understand it, if I'm not fully on board with it. I work best when something absolutely makes sense to me. And I'm like, oh yes, that. And I feel the importance. So my advice to you, the life project plan comes in 7 easy steps. And we'll go over those really, again, I'm going to try and fly through this as best I can. So number 1, this week, here's where I mentioned bullet journaling. Now, those of you who know me know it's a big obsession of mine, bullet journaling. This is not a bullet journal session itself, but I will say, whether or not you use bullet journals, just know that one of the things that we do is do what's called a weekly spread. You'll write out the week ahead and go, okay, so what's coming up? That's the first thing that I want you to do if you're going to do a life project plan, is get those things out of your head and onto paper or digital paper. Now, I know that some of you, like me, have all this stuff in Outlook Calendar or Google Calendar, which is great because we need the reminders and the details and stuff. But the act of sitting down at some point in the week and writing out the next 7 days, doctor's appointment on Tuesday. Oh, the kid's paper is due on Thursday. I really need to remember to call so-and-so on Friday. Doing that gets those things out of the ether. You know, I always imagined that Harry Potter scene with all the keys flying around. And those are my thoughts. That's my head, right? Grabbing hold of those and putting them down. So now you don't have a room full of things flying around that are going to poke you in the eye. And it brings it to the front of your mind. So get it out of my head, you know, reduce the chaos, and also bring it front of mind. And I've also got reminders set up, so that's good. So a quick example of that, and there are lots of different formats, it doesn't matter, is just a straight up, here's Monday through Sunday, quick bullet points. Oh, right, I've got a 12:30 sales meeting on Wednesday. I'm glad I wrote that down. Now it's kind of in the front of my mind. Cool, cool, cool. Step 2, I call check in with life. So we've looked at what is immediately in front of us. Now let's check in with what's important to us, right? And get those to the front of the mind and stop them from flying around in your head all the time. I divide it out by what I call zones of assessment, which is simply starting with that closest to me, which is me. You know, what do I need? And next out for me is family and friends. Next out is house and world. And next out is work. Divide it up however you like, but ask yourself the question, what do I need from others? What do they need from me? You know, for me, I might need to schedule my therapist appointment. I might need to say, oh, right, you know, it really helps me when I do yoga a couple of times a week. I've noticed it really perks up my energy. So I'll write down, I need me to do yoga twice a week. Same with family and friends. Oh, right, you know, Julie has a birthday coming up and my kid has a paper due, so I need to help them with that. This is where you write that stuff out. We have looked at what's immediate. We have looked at what's important. Now let's look at how a given day tends to go for us. This is worthwhile. It is worthwhile to examine how you currently do things. And I'm going to make a note here, and especially in these two, no judgment. Everything up to like the first 5 steps should be observational, which is to say you're not going to go, oh man, I spend only this much time on this thing that's important and I don't, we are not judging. We are observing what is going on with us, because we may as well look at it straight in the eye and go like, okay, this is the thing. We're data people. We're gathering data. So 7 a.m., I typically up somewhere around 6, 7. It varies. Doesn't matter. This is sort of a shape of a day, right? I do my morning stuff. I know what that means for me. That's feeding the pets and making coffee and getting breakfast, getting dressed, that sort of thing. 8 o'clock is focus work time. I've got this online work group that meets at specific times throughout the week. And it's brilliant for me because I'm self-employed. I run my own company, meaning where I don't have people that I'm accountable to in that way. Like I don't have a manager that's like, you should have been here 10 minutes ago. I'm a work from home, self-employed person. So it's great having something that has set times like that. It kind of tricks my my ADHD brain into going, oh, someone's expecting something of you. Cool, cool. So this is just kind of the shape of my day. And you'll notice in the evening when I wrote this, I didn't really have a solid idea of how I spend my evening. Now I've done a little more observing, and I would absolutely write down, oh, 6 o'clock-ish is dinner and 7 o'clock is movie or game time. So that just gives me an idea of how I spend my days. Now, how do you spend your week, right? This gets into, how much time do I have available and what am I putting it to? Again, we're going observational, not judgy. So you've got 168 hours in a given week. I put down about 9 hours a night for sleep and rest. I don't actually sleep 9 hours a night, but I mean, you get into bed and you play a game. Again, we're not going to judge. We're not going to be self-deprecating. This is just what I do, and I spend 15 minutes, half an hour, whatever, going to sleep, and so on and so on. So allocate that out. After sleep, I highly recommend you set aside 5 or 10% of the remaining time for miscellaneous, right? Because we're not robots. We're not going to schedule out every 5 minutes of our week. So let's see, 168 hours minus sleep, that leaves 105 hours in the week. That's that right-hand column. 10% for miscellaneous leaves 95, 10% for me time. And that's everything from personal grooming to staring out the window, daydreaming about San Diego or whatever, right? Just whatever. You need some wiggle room in your week. About how much time you spend for work, for kids, for chores, for whatever's on your list, right? And then time remaining at the end. If you've got a negative time remaining at the end, then you probably need to do a little bit more self-observation, right? I'm going to glance at chat real quick, make sure there's nothing. Long link didn't work either. I'll get you those links. Sorry, guys. Get them later. Whoops, let's go back. Whatever works, whatever applies to you. And again, we're doing observational. If you wind up with negative time, then yeah, a little more observation. Okay. So what have we done? We've looked at the immediate future. We've looked into what's important, how a day tends to go, how a week's time gets allocated generally. Now we're going to look at patterns. Now we've been getting steadily more introspective. This is kind of important. What I find is one of the big issues is avoidance, right? I get into busy work and I kind of go like this when there's something I don't want to do. So I'm going to ask myself some questions. You may wind up with a different set of questions, but this is a really good starter. What are my good and bad times to work? For me, that's morning. Morning is a great time. That's my focus time. So if I want to do something that requires a fair amount of cognition, if I'm writing, if I'm doing code, that sort of thing, it's morning. Not to say that afternoon stuff is less important, but it's a different kind of focus, right? I can have meetings in the afternoon. I can do various kinds of things, getting into too much specifics, but what are your good and bad times to work? Think about that a little. Things that help or hurt my focus, my ADHD medications really help me focus. Having things set up in advance helps me focus. Like I've begun making cold brew the night before. So I just wake up, I have my coffee, it's great. And so forth. What do I love doing? That's going to be telling. What do I avoid doing? That's going to be more telling. I'll take the example, a non-work example. I avoid doing the cat box, not just because it's gross and it stinks, but also I hate the grit on my feet. I hate not having the supplies I need right at hand. Wait a second. If I identify what I'm avoiding and I identify why, then that means I can potentially solve those issues, right? I can sweep the floor, wear socks, and I can supply things in advance, and so forth. Again, what makes me feel good, what makes me feel bad, that's going to tell you a bit more about why you do the tasks that you do. Projects, this is where we finally get to get aspirational. This is where we finally get to go beyond just observing. Get those projects out of your head and onto paper, digital or otherwise, things that you are responsible for, things you could be, things you want to do but haven't started yet or have. I like to do them by category, give a project name, give a due date, and estimated hours. It helps me a great deal. Something like HC testing, which is like the fifth thing down, that's ongoing. That doesn't have a due date. Again, self-employed, right? But I personally don't do well with setting myself a deadline because it's arbitrary and my brain knows it. So we'll talk about that a little more in a second. But yeah, list out all of those projects, whether it's something you're not going to get to right away or whatever. It's in your head. It's one of the keys flying around. Put it on paper. Finally, integrate. Yes. Lots and lots of different ways to do this. You can go through and highlight stuff into colors by category, whatever. But go ahead and do a review of everything that you've written down so far. Write down some observations. Like if you think, oh, wow, that's interesting because this, write down, that's interesting because this, right? You want to keep those. And make an action plan, right? I made a quick summary page in 4 parts. And here's the list of them, but we're not going to stay on this page very long. We're going to jump ahead to the example, right? Summary in 4 parts. Here's this week. Here's the things that are front of my mind, important thoughts, habits. You notice this kind of follows what we've been doing. It's not exactly, it's sort of an analyzed and condensed version of everything that we've just done. This is my action plan. This is something I might do every week if I remember to do so, or every other week if I feel like doing it that often. Again, do what works for you. But yeah, that's that sort of questioning and observational and getting things out of the ether and getting them more concrete. That's what we're talking about today. That is me flying through this, and I think we've got maybe 4 minutes left for Q&A, so let me go in and take a look at that. A lot of talk about linking issues. Yeah, sorry about that. Thank you for putting in the long link, Eugene. Okay, well, if you cannot get the links to work, then definitely write me on Twitter or find Jennifer McCown on LinkedIn, and we'll figure it out. Patterns, yes. Bad at time estimations. Do you have any suggestions for this? That's a great question. I am also horrible at time estimation. Part of it is start off with a gut guess. If you know that you chronically underestimate, double the time, right? This is all for your own paper, so you may as well, right? As far as getting better at time estimation, observational, right? Take a week and write down how long things go. I've actually done this before where I live 30 minutes from the nearest moderately sized town. So when I have to go to town, I come back and it's been like 4 hours. I'm like, what on earth did I do? I've written down, I am leaving the bank, and then the time. I am leaving the post office, and then the time, and so forth. And so I can see, oh, is that? Start cementing it into your head. Good stuff. Excellent, excellent. Any other questions, other thoughts? We've got some interesting links in here that I'm going to copy out and talk about on Twitter. I did not get to do the thing. That's probably because I'm full screen. That's okay. While people are thinking about their intense questions, you can reach me, like I said, on Twitter. You can email me if you like, jen@binianware.net. I don't know why the URL isn't working. I'm so sorry. I will definitely post that on Twitter as well. And anyone that emails me, I can get you a copy of these things. How do you not get thrown off by the unexpected? Oh my gosh, that is a great question. And I do get thrown off by the unexpected. Part of it is having that awareness of time and having, you remember that 10% I set aside for me time and for miscellaneous. That's to partly help account for that sort of thing, because I'm going to keep my language clean. Poop does happen, right? So I got thrown off. You know, I had a plan for Monday and it got completely thrown off because my website was down. I had to check it. Try to relax about it. It's fine. We have taken all the keys out of the air. We have written them down. We know what's important. You know, assigning things to a specific time slot can be useful, but you got to leave some grace, right? Excellent question. I think we've only got a minute left. So mods, you want to come back on and say stuff? You don't have to.
Of course we do.
I can keep saying things.